before you even talk about what you've gone through with the whole unrest, the conflict, war, however you want to describe it, I guess, how has that process been with local and state media that have been reaching out trying to determine how you're doing?
Well, actually, I was exceptionally surprised. I'm like, okay, I'm so very tiny in this whole thing. It did take me by surprise. So, most people have reached out through, Facebook Messenger, and I think the Gazette hit the papers first.
Yep, they did.
And then everybody was kind of picking it up from there and kind of pulling in and saying, oh, hey, somebody in the area is there. And so I just continued to get messages. I think you're my fifth interview. I'm pretty sure I've covered every media except for smoke signals. So, it's insanely crazy. I mean, it's like my kids, texted me and they're like, Mom, you're trending. And I'm like, I don't really want to trend.
Right.
But I guess I'm trending. So I was like, okay, sweetie, I'm glad you're excited about that.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah, it's kind of funny. So, yeah. And my granddaughter, in fact, I sent my granddaughter stuff. She's 17. She's a senior there at the Emporia High School. And I sent her a couple of the articles and everything. And she says, oh, Mom, we're going to do this in world history today. And I went, well, it's definitely history in the making. So,
well said.
Oh, I guess it's, I guess that's a good thing. I mean, I'm a teacher, so I'm glad it's being used somewhere. I mean, it's like I'll probably pull a whole bunch of this stuff back out into my classroom. So that's kind of was the expectation anyway. So I just have a little extra to add to it.
No doubt. Absolutely. Okay. I wanted to ask you before, we got you into, how you got on the trip. I wanted to ask you about kind of how your interest developed in the Middle East, or did you have really a keen interest in the Middle East for wanting to go over?
Okay, so basically it was more biblical based. We were heading into Israel to do a lot of the footsteps of Jesus and, go to the Valley of the Doves and the Mount of Beatitudes, place where they fed the 5,000, go to the Sea of Galilee, which was my absolute favorite. I could live there. It's beautiful. The people are wonderful. It just was a wonderful cleansing, quieting experience on the Sea of Galilee. And then we went into Bethlehem and Jerusalem and, seeing all of the sights there, the crucifixion and walking down the Via Dolorosa and the different things of that side. And so that was really kind of the main purpose. But then I also, which I didn't get to do, was going to go to the Holocaust Museum. It's huge and has so much information, and I teach a big unit on World War II with all the different perspectives. And so I really, try to draw in not every, obviously, but many of the perspectives in World War II from both sides, both military and otherwise. So I was really kind of excited to be able to go do that and get some firsthand stuff and be able to use that back in my classroom. Unfortunately, that was scheduled for Sunday when everything was shut down. So I did not get to do that. But I got to do pretty much all the rest of the stuff on the trip, besides that and the Dead Sea. So I'm telling you what, it was an experience of a lifetime. We were able to... are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry. We were able to, we had a dinner with some Palestinians. It was a wonderful dinner, visiting with them and kind of getting their perspective on how things are going. Normal people with kids want to travel, want to do better, want to, make a good life, just kind of normal folks like us. And then we were able to watch the Feast of the Tabernacles. It was that week. And so it was really cool to see all of the Jews were collapsing in on Jerusalem, going to the Wailing Wall, doing their worship and their services and the different things. So that was fun to be able to kind of immerse firsthand into that stuff. It really made everything kind of come alive, not only biblically wise, but what's going on in Israel. Most of Israel is just normal people that are caught in a bad situation. I mean, you know that. So,
right.
they're just normal families, and everybody I talk to, they're like, hey, we love our country. We love being here. We really want to be able to, just be able to, feed our kids and go to college and have a better place for them to live. And it was really interesting because you saw how inextricably intertwined all of their lives were: race, culture, religion, all of it, because many of the sites had multiple uses depending on which culture or religion you were. So you'd see both people or 3 or 4 different types of religion in the same place using the same site, yet for different reasons, which I did not realize. So it was very eye-opening, just culturally wise, to sit and to watch the way Israel is.
And the way it sounds too is you kind of caught, at least going in, it didn't, at least from the national reports that I've seen, it didn't seem like there was a lot of, or really any indications that something was brewing. So at least it seems like for a while, you kind of got, okay, this is kind of our normal, until it wasn't.
Yeah. No, it was, and it was just a regular day. I mean, we just went on our merry little ways. There were tours out everywhere. People of every nationality were there. I was sitting in the different places. Of course, they've got churches, and on the Mount of Beatitudes and all the different places. There's the little churches that pop up that they do, and people are singing in different languages. And it really was beautiful. It was so amazing to kind of watch all of the world come together in Jerusalem and just they're worshiping. I mean, that's what they were doing. They were on different trips or pilgrimages or whatever the case was, depending on, their different culture or religion, and they just did it together, simultaneously, side by side.
Right. Talk about, I guess it would have been our time Saturday morning, or maybe it was your time Saturday morning, I forget, but talk about the weekend when everything completely changed. Kind of what you were doing and what started happening near you.
We were actually at the ancient city Masada, which is off the Dead Sea. The Gaza Strip was over the mountains. I'm not sure how many miles, but quite a few miles, less than a drive to Topeka, I guess, maybe. And we were kind of, I don't know, halfway or 3/4 of the way through our tour, and suddenly we heard rumblings coming down out of the mountains, and somebody turned around and said, hey, is that thunder? I don't see anything. And I turned around and I went, no, those are explosions. I knew instantly that's not normal. That's not a normal sound. And they kind of looked at me funny, and I went, no, this happens from time to time over here. I said, those are explosions. Somebody's, dropped something, a bomb or something has gone off, and it's basically radiating down the mountain and into the valleys. And within, say, 10 to 15 minutes, they basically took us down off the mountain, put us on the bus, and drove us back to the hotel about an hour away in Jerusalem. And that's pretty much where we stayed for the next day, for the rest of that day. Military presence in town upticked pretty fast. Police were out. We had police within our hotel even kind of checking things out and making sure everything was okay. And that's where we stayed. The next day we ventured out for about an hour or so just to kind of see some things, but everything was shut down. When we asked our tour guide, if it's not here and it's not a problem, why is everything closed? Just because you don't understand the situation over there. We just, wanted to know. And they said basically that the Jews were in mourning, and so that they would shut everything down for at least 24 hours. And then it exceedingly got worse and things stayed shut. So
yeah, I was going to ask you kind of what your indication was that this was not going to be a short-term thing.
Well, on a personal note, I got messages from some of my ex-military buddies, some veterans, and saying, hey, you probably ought to get out of Israel as soon as possible. And when some of those guys say things, you go, yes, sir, and listen pretty quick. But I think it really changed when they canceled our flights out of Tel Aviv, because it kind of went through the night and the bombing got worse through the evening. They started canceling flights out of Tel Aviv. We had an amazing person working with us trying to get things rescheduled, but every time we get them rescheduled, they get canceled again. That happened at least 2 or 3 different times. And so we could never really get a flight out. And finally we're like, okay, we have to do something, because then the border started closing. And we were just like, I don't care how you get us to the other side of the border, but we need to get there. The problems that they told us that they were having was that there was Palestinian and Israeli settlements on certain roads that we needed to take to border crossings. And they were afraid that some of that fighting that was around in Gaza, and I guess Lebanon was throwing some stuff over the border, they were afraid those were going to erupt into Israel, the inner Israel itself, with fighting in between the people. And so they wanted to keep us off the roads. Well, eventually that didn't become a choice because we couldn't get out by a plane. So they finally secured a appointment at a smaller border crossing that had not been closed yet, and put us all on the bus early in the morning and drove us there a couple hours or so. And then it took about 2.5 hours to get through customs and through the border. And then we ended up in Jordan. So that's pretty much how we got out. When we got out of Jordan, we did go ahead and take in another site that was on our way to the hotel. It was kind of somber, obviously, because we were all glad to be out, but knowing that people were still trying to get out. I mean, there was hundreds of tour buses and regular people just trying to get out. But by the time we got to the hotel in Amman, Jordan, our bus driver told us that Jerusalem had been bombed shortly after we had left. So that was exceptionally sombering, the fact that we had been able to get out, but there's so many that we had met and had gotten to know that we're not going to be able to get out. And we're probably going to be there for the duration of this. So, not going to cry, not going to lie, I shed quite a few tears at that point. Grateful, relief, and yet heartbroken, because there's so many innocents at this point in time.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of civilians are pretty well massacred, is the way it sounds over the last few days, is really the way it sounds.
And that, and that's the way it is with every war. The innocents are the ones that pay the price, these, and I mean, we met so many different families and people, and it's like they just want to live and have a safe place, and they're not going to for a long time now.
Yeah. When are you possibly going to get home?
Lord willing, I have a flight confirmed for Friday, so hopefully
right.
I will be back in the States before the weekend.
Oh my! How much of a relief will it be to, have that flight, be able to touch down on American soil and to be home?
Probably extremely overwhelming. It will take me quite a lot of time to process. It's been a very emotional trip. It was emotional beforehand with just the fact of being able to, follow the Bible and have it come to life for me, and to be able to understand, a little bit of Israel and the nation itself, and kind of get a love for the country. It's beautiful. There's wonderful people there of every walk of life. And then to step back into the United States and know that I have the freedom to go anywhere, and the fact that I have a nation that would come get me if I had to, which we're seeing happen now, it's overwhelming. I'm not even sure I can put that into words. It makes me cry.
I can imagine. You'd mentioned here about kind of your experience and how you plan to roll that into, maybe future lessons. I'm
Yes.
assuming you're already kind of twirling your head on exactly how to do that this year and then maybe for future years down the road.
Oh, yes, definitely. In fact, I was just texting with one of our other 8th grade teachers, and we were talking about what we were going to teach next, and we are probably heading into World War II with Anne Frank and those kinds of things, and all I can think of is how much wealth of information I'm bringing back from, the nation of the Jews to be able to put into that perspective, not only everybody else's, but now I have more of firsthand experience and personal experiences. I'm so excited to be able to do that with my students because I think it's so important for them to be able to see other perspectives, multiple perspectives, and know that it's okay to have different thought processes and that we can still, all live together nicely and learn from one another, and that.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. It's going to take me a while to kind of process how to put that all together, but it's definitely going in there. One of the other fun things, though, that I did do that was just kind of fun is my best friend, Brandy Taylor. She teaches 2nd grade at Riverside. I took her class pet with me, Fred. And so Fred got to go on a trip everywhere, and we've been sending videos back. I've been sending videos back to her, and so her classroom has kind of been taking a trip around the world, too. She says they're excited about that, to learn about different places and those kinds of things. So I think it's really exciting that we're able to expose, our students to something different and way outside of Emporia that they might not otherwise have.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I guess another question comes up is, now that you've been, if the situation does wind up settling down at some point in time, would you go back?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Got to get the situation to settle down first, though, right?
Oh, definitely, please. And we might let it rest for a while.
Yeah.
So, well, it's like I told my kids, we were all kind of, anytime you go to a place that has, a history of war and those kinds of things, of unrest, that there are always, a possibility of something happening. But, it's like I told them, I said, you could die on the road getting hit by a deer. I said, so we can't live our lives in fear. I said, we can be wise and make decisions that are, smart, but we can't, hide ourselves in a hole and not travel and not go see things and not experience the world. Because I really think that, being able to get out there and learn of other things and other people and places makes us more apt to be able to get along. I just think that's so important.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Joanna, am I missing anything you wanted me to put in my story here this week?
It was a magnificent experience. I went exhausted. I went, tired and beaten down in the hustle and bustle, and I sat on the Sea of Galilee, and it was like, okay, let's put things in perspective. Mm-hmm. And was able to kind of, get that cleansing of spirit and calming of the soul. And when all the crazy went down, I was fine. It was, yes, okay, this is a problem, and yes, we need to get out, but I wasn't fearful. I just knew that I was right where I needed to be, when I needed to be, and I was able to help a lot of people else along the way. So I've had that opportunity to serve others, and I just think that's what I needed at that point in time, and God knew it.